Welcome to Real as Possible, where two sisters keep it real with hilarious stories from our childhood and honest conversations about faith, life, and everything in between. Well, hello there. Welcome back to Real as Possible podcast. We took a little bit of a break, so we haven't you haven't seen or heard from us in a little bit because, life gets a little bit busy. Speaking of busy,
Busy.
what's been new, Ashley? Oh yeah, let me just
You
introduce my
update.
nephew,
Yeah.
Ashley's son, Liam Andrews. Yay!
Yeah.
Look at us.
But before we get into why Liam is here as a guest, and our other guest, Watson.
Oh, wait.
And Finn.
It
And
makes
Finn.
my nose get itchy after a while.
What's been new the last, it's been about a month, right? Since
It feels like
maybe
it
3
if
weeks.
it hasn't been.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a while.
It's been like 2 weeks.
Anything new?
He would know.
Not for me.
Not for me. He's still stuck in middle school.
Yeah, he's been in prison for a hot minute.
Oh, yeah. It's rough. Well, we ordered our tickets to Romania today.
Yeah, are you
So-
excited about that? Liam,
I am
are you
now
excited?
that it's official.
Nervous a little bit. I've been across the ocean before, so
Yeah,
That's true.
it'll be
You
his
are jumping
first.
over the pond. Big
It's a
deal.
big pond.
It's true. So Romania, what's in Romania? Who's in Romania?
We have some really good friends in Romania. Vali and Larissa are two of our really good friends. We're gonna stay with them a majority of the time. We plan on doing, I think it's like 4 days of vacationing there,
Yeah.
and then another few days, 2-3 days of doing some ministry. I think it was a large youth ministry.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be really fun to help out with. But yeah, so it'll be our first time actually going there with a little bit of free time, like just hanging out with friends, who are like family to us. And Liam's huge in soccer, so they love soccer there.
Yeah.
So he's probably gonna play with a lot of the kids out on the turf and stuff,
That's really cool.
as I call it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
except I have a
exciting.
ball. All mine are stolen.
They'll
so-
have a ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys got to get that figured out. That's weird.
We gotta get a camera.
I really, not to shameless
And he
plug,
also
I have
needs
no
to bring
idea.
the ball back in the house.
I really enjoy our Google one only because our Blink one, you had to change the battery and it was hardwired in the house. That's what I
Okay.
didn't like. And I'm like, why isn't it just able to work because it's hardwired into the
Yeah.
house? So I got one that you could hardwire.
We're also doing construction on the house.
Yes, that's true.
That's official. So
Yay.
we're ordering all the what's that stuff called?
Materials?
Your materials?
Yes.
Lumber.
Lumber.
So
Yep.
they're going to be doing some rebuilding, and
You guys have a busy summer.
yeah.
So that's the thing is like these whole like sports things that these kids like to be in just take up your whole life.
Yeah.
Because I think soccer, it's like, it really feels like Liam is playing soccer all year round because he also plays
Futsal. Yeah.
So, which is like indoor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just indoor, less people on the I won't say field because a lot
On
of
the
people here
court.
probably don't
Court,
watch
I
soccer.
guess.
Court.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I mean, I love watching my kids or my nephew or our friends' kids play sports. It's just like it does take a lot out of
Yeah.
your summer and your
Mhm.
season, so that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Um
When he's leaving the soccer club and going
Mhm.
into the high school. 'Cause he'll
Junior
be-
varsity, I think I probably will get into.
Yeah, so he'll be a freshman next year. And so he'll be actually joining the school
yeah,
soccer.
which is a little bit more, I feel like
I feel like it's more busy.
really.
I do. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's more busy.
Mhm.
We're gonna find that out more.
Pretty sure it's. I don't know if there's any other like divisions. I think it's like a whole team though, so they will have like a bunch of people.
Maybe
Yeah.
it feels more busy
So,
because there's
yeah.
practice every day. But it's
Maybe
like
that's what it
consistent.
is.
You
I
know what I
don't
mean? It's
know.
just he's gonna be here and
Mhm.
here for these
School
hours.
sports are new. We've never done a school sport. It was
Right.
always like through a club when we did something. Like when you did hip hop, it was through a club. When you did soccer the last few years, it was through a club.
Right.
So this will be through a school. And then we also have summer school, which we normally don't do summer school, but we're doing summer school this year for him and Lainey. And so that's already a pretty busy morning start to our summer. On top of Lainey just joined band. So
Yay. She's playing the
She's
cool
in
kid.
band. Oh, yeah, she's in the. Oh yeah, she is doing the flute.
She's doing the
Yeah,
flute,
she's playing the cool kid. I remember like all of the cool girls
We're flute
in
players.
I remember.
yeah, in like whatever middle school or high school are always flute
Yeah.
players, and then the nice
I thought
girls.
percussion was also like a cool kid thing.
Well, yeah, but it was rarely ever a girl thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was only mainly the boys.
Who's moaning?
But yeah, the clarinets were always the nicest.
Oh, thank you.
I know. I also play the clarinet.
Yeah.
When she said band, I thought she meant like music class, not like actual band.
Oh,
Because when I was in
she-
East, I used to just be like, okay, we're in band. All we're gonna do is get a recorder and just start playing random music.
No.
ugh, yeah, it is
That's
right.
not
That's
it.
what it sounds
I
like.
didn't learn anything from it.
Definitely
you hear
sounds
that
like
down the
that
hall.
is like basically the description of recorder is you didn't learn anything and it sounds like
You just-
random music.
Yeah, you just blow. You just
You
make a
just-
high pitched noise and call it a day.
Yep, that's pretty much
Call
what
it a
you're.
day.
Okay, one time, this is really funny. Nanny would take us.
Yes.
She would take us to the dollar store so we could pick out stuff. And she was the one that let us get the recorders, which I thought was dumb.
But she had
Like-
a rule. We weren't allowed to play it in the car.
Why did you even give it to us? Like, just you gave children a noisemaker in a car.
Practice
So
the
one
finger
time,
movements.
yeah, right. She should have given them to us because we played them, and she's like, stop playing the recorders, and of course I did, but Ashley and Uncle Critter they never stopped. So one time, she was like, "Can I see that?" And we handed it to her, and she threw it out the window
As we're driving, she's just like, it's gone now. And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, I don't know, like, I don't remember a reaction, but knowing me, I might have laughed.
I don't. I
don't
just think I was in
remember.
shock. Like,
Maybe that's what it
'cause
was.
you could have just put it next to you, but Mom was
Like,
so
we're done
extreme.
with
Like,
this.
she's like, "Can I see that?"
You probably played a little, like,
Sad
Peter
tune
Pan
on the
type
way
of
out.
tune.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, that's your nanny. That's our childhood growing up.
What was it? No, because we did clarinet, but you also played.
The French
The
horn,
French
of
horn.
course, which is like one of the best ever to play, mainly because of soundtracks such as Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit.
So we listened to Lord of the Rings after Lainey. So Lainey had to go to the school to not like try out,
Mm-hmm.
but to see if it was an instrument she would really like.
Yeah.
So she got to try it and see if it fit for her. And she was there with like, it was like a high school or something, someone who knew what they were doing. And she went back and did that while we filled out some paper stuff. And when we left, because she originally told me, "Mom, I want to play the cymbals." And Lainey is a small thing. So I'm thinking like the monkey ones, like, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. When she told me, like, "Mom, I really want to try out for cymbals." And I'm like, "Why?" Like, I'm like, you'll hit one note. She's
That
like,
one
it's like,
job.
boom. And you better
Mhm.
not mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, she could totally rock that. But I really wanted her to play that humongous drum that, like, you have to really bang.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
you're so tiny.
tiny
That'd
she
be
is?
so
I mean,
funny.
Grandpa would be proud.
Right? Well, he
My-
even said, "Do you guys need a cymbal?" And I'm like, "I don't know yet. I'll let you know." Like, he was all about it. But when we got there, she was like, "No, I only want to do flute." And
Okay.
she was determined, and she got it. She was so proud of herself. When we left, she goes, "Mom, I'm so proud of myself." I'm like, "I'm so proud out of you." That's
Good
how we say
try.
it. Like, it's a fun thing. Huh?
She hit a cymbal.
No,
No,
she
she got
only
the
did
flute.
and she did fine enough to where she now is an owner of a flute.
One time I dated this guy who is a percussionist. And
I
he
know this guy.
Yes. And
Okay.
he had like longer, shaggy hair. And I went to his band concert to see him play, and he had the job of like the cymbals. And every time he played it, his hair would poof up because the wind from the
wind.
cymbals.
Did you say thimbles?
Ripples.
Not thimbles. Cymbals, silly. Anyway, yes. Okay, so yes. Quick little update. Fanny boy over here.
Oh, that's a
Had-
turn.
Yes. Had a pretty bad because we gotta get moving.
We do.
And it was their
Um,
birthday yesterday, so
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
his birthday and Archie's birthday.
Our
So
dog, it's Archie, his brother.
yes. So they are brothers. And Finn had a seizure like Tuesday into Wednesday. And he has not been back to his normal state, as in he may have gotten maybe like a little bit of a brain injury from it. So he is very unstable when he's walking. And just like can't really trust him to go outside by himself or anything like that because he'll fall over. But we're hoping he'll be better. He's on anti-seizure meds. And if he doesn't get better, then we just have a drunk looking dog until he, until I mean, I asked the vet, like, when is it inhumane to like
Right.
when
That's
at
a
what
hard
point
one.
do we put
Mhm.
him down? Because
Yeah.
he's fine. Like he's not in any pain. He's just a little bit wobbly. But hopefully we don't have to put him down anytime soon. So he's eating, he's drinking,
Mhm.
he's doing all the things. Just a little update on Finny Boy. And that's kind of been our week, is just trying to manage
Right.
this guy right here.
Yeah.
See what we can do to help him. So anyway, yeah. But just to kind of shift the conversation, last episode we talked about just some learning disabilities and
There's a thing on mental health.
mental
awareness.
health awareness and all that kind of stuff. And we brought up the word Tourette's, and which is something that our family is pretty familiar and
Right.
with, because Liam was diagnosed with that at what
Yes.
age? 3?
No, he was probably 5.
5, yeah.
Oh,
About
5.
5. It
It's like
was right after kindergarten.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was showing some signs of like repetitive
Repetition. Yeah.
tics and stuff. It started with the blinking and clearing of throat.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, what is this? So we took him to get a haircut, thinking maybe the hair was
Got
coming
his
in
tonsils
his
taken
eyes.
out.
Then we were like, why are you grunting and making this room room sound? And we thought
He
like
just
at
really
first,
loves cars ever since
yeah,
he was really
well,
little.
because like he would watch
It was
monster
more- It was
trucks.
more like a.
Oh no, there was a
you would clear your
definite-
throat, but you
yeah.
definitely had like a more of a like
Yeah.
always
It was a long sound.
yeah.
But we thought it was just that you were excited to watch monster trucks or something, because it was always like monster trucks were always on, and so we're like, well, maybe
He
that's
could
what it
memorize
is.
like everything on the screen, which is
Yeah.
a big one for
Yeah, and there were just a lot of sensory stuff also involved.
yeah.
Which
Was it sensory, like with clothing and shoes, or like with food?
sometimes it was mostly
He's still
sounds,
sensory
right?
with. I'm sensory with food
It
too.
was- Yeah, mostly sound and
That's right.
visual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because we couldn't do
Sound-
swings.
Sound is the rarest one.
It's
And-
more like visual, like swings and
Flags, wind chimes.
Yeah,
wind
wind chimes.
You're really rocking it
Yeah,
today.
wind chimes.
We said that the other day.
What was it? Shoot, she was like, oh my
I
gosh.
can't remember, but
She
it was
talks
like
about
that.
Jesus or something, and then she said something like, oh, I'm gonna have to think about it. I was like, oh, she wheelie.
I don't remember.
I have to think about
It
it.
reminded us of like Five Goes West mouse or something like that. We're like, what? Anyways, so
Mhm.
it went into that. And then, so it started with sensory processing disorder. We were diagnosed
Yes.
with that
Mm-hmm.
because we noticed a lot of this like issue with the wind. Because when you were really little, we had soccer practice and we went to your game, and that was in like 4K.
That's not when. That's not when it
That was
started. though.
that's not when it started, but you had sensory processing like issues at that point that we noticed. So we had that diagnosis, and then you would blink a lot We got your hair cut. You still blinked. So it wasn't the hair. Then we got your vision
You're
checked.
making it sound like blinking is bad.
No, it was
No,
like
it's not. We
it
were just
wasn't
trying to
like a
figure out
blinking. It was a
why.
hard blink. Like,
I know, but
would you
you
do
didn't
that?
say hard blink. You just said blinking. So
Well,
it's just
blinking,
like blinking.
yeah.
I had to go get
To
doctor.
clarify, it wasn't like a normal, like involuntary blink or
It was
reaction.
like
It was
a-
more of
It's
like
like
a
a-
hard.
Yeah, it
Yes,
was like a lot of very intense blinking.
There were tics, like
Yeah.
in the eyes. Yeah.
And so then we got your vision checked. That cleared out. So like, what in the world is happening? Got your tonsils taken out because they thought maybe that's what was causing a lot of the clear in the throat and the grunting sounds and stuff like that. And then that came back after your tonsil stuff was all healed out. It came back. We're like, well, that wasn't it. So we went through a lot of different things to figure it out. And then one day we went back to your doctor, and then he was just like, have you ever heard of Tourette syndrome? We're like, yeah, we have. And so we kind of went into that. They also had to check, do you remember the MRI they had to put you into like that tube?
Yeah, I know what an MRI is. I just remember going to an MRI.
Yeah, you were
I only remember Lainey going into one.
Lainey went into one. So you and I went to get an MRI done because they wanted to make sure there was nothing else neurological going on that they couldn't see.
Right.
Because with the Tourette syndrome, it's all symptom based. And then he's twitching, he's dreaming. That's a dog.
Archie is crazy when he does that.
Yeah.
Kicks me.
Yeah. But you went in the MRI, everything turned out fine with that. So then we went back to the Tourette syndrome diagnosis and went from there. And you were really little, so a lot of it you just kind of didn't. You didn't.
I mean,
really,
he was just living his life
yeah.
still. Like it didn't really.
It didn't affect you until later.
When, Liam, do you feel like it started to like affect your everyday life? Like, when do you feel like that was? That's me. Sorry, guys. Remind me to take my meds.
Probably like first grade, because I remember every time I went to church, it was every time I walked into like a gym, it was echo. It wouldn't even be a bad echo; it'd be like a normal echo, and it would trigger me really bad.
I was saying, and I think your sensory also played a role in that because when you have anxiety, that will up the Tourette's, the tics. That will up the tics. And so we learned to try and keep the anxiety low. We would work through it. We would talk about it. And I don't think it was until we never told him straight out, like when we got the diagnosis of SPD and TS, we never told him until he was older because I did like research and stuff, and there were a lot of parents who were like, we didn't tell them until later because we didn't want them to use it as an excuse to get out of things or to like, I don't know if I'm gonna say like use it as like a cop out, you know?
Right.
But so we waited, and I remember when you were having a sensory overload, as I call them, or episode, it was Menards. You remember how hard it was to go into Menards? You were pretty young, but I think
feel
you
like
were
I did. I just
8.
remember what caused it.
It was the air ducts. We would walk in, and the air ducts would click on.
Yeah, they're loud.
And you could hear it, and you would start to panic and have anxiety, and you could not shop with
That
me.
wouldn't affect me anymore, I don't think.
No.
Maybe a little bit, but it
so
wouldn't affect me
that's what
anymore.
we'll probably get into is the
Yeah.
the things that you, as you're growing up, what you've been able to cope with and even have grown out of, but then the new challenges with it probably look a lot different than the challenges that you had when you were little.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so people looked at it like some would look at it like he had meltdowns, or oh, it's just a spoiled child not wanting to get something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was stuff like that. But Liam,
or like he needs more discipline and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually no, he's having a hard moment right
Yeah.
now. Like,
and Liam never asked for anything at a store. Like
Right.
hardly ever.
right.
And it was so cute because one time he was super little. You might remember the little ship that you wanted. And it was like an
I think
expensive
it's like grandma's
ship.
now, right?
Probably. It was an expensive ship. And we were just kind of like, maybe we'll wait for Christmas. Like we'll get it for him for Christmas. And he would always want to go to the toy section and look at it. But he was so good at not being like, I want that. Like he
Right.
wasn't ever like
Yeah,
that.
he was always really good about that.
And then one day that we were like, wait, we have the money for this like crazy expensive ship thing. We told him he can buy it, and he was holding it, and he was looking at it, and he goes, not right now. And he put it back. And it was so cute though. But he ended up getting it for Christmas later on. But
I think it had like the trap door, right? The red trap
yeah,
door.
it had like a claw thing for like a shark and stuff. I think we still have the shark in with us, and I think Grandma has the ship.
Yeah,
But I don't
that's
know.
why it's still fun to play with.
Electricity.
There are some toys that I really think are generational that will always be around. But so it was never like a moment of I'm having a meltdown, freaking out because I wanted a candy or a toy
Right.
with
It
him.
was
He was
just
always super good.
sensory.
It was always a sensory thing. Going to restaurants, if there's a lot of clanking of dishes, stuff like that. We would have to deal with that, especially when we had like extended family that didn't understand. Like if people didn't research, like you were right there the whole time.
Yep.
Like you kind of called it out where you're like, have you gotten him checked for this? And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't even know.
I said evaluated because I didn't like when people are like, you need to get him checked out, blah, blah. I'm like, there's got to be a better word for this because it
Yeah.
always makes parents feel like, there's something wrong, but there's nothing wrong. It's just he has a couple little like backfires or whatever that,
Yep.
if
And that's how we
anything, it
explained it.
strengthens him in so many other places. Like
Yeah.
he could read at such a young age and fast and like he's super, super smart and is so good at memorizing things.
Yeah.
And,
And so we were at Menards one day and he was having a really, really hard time.
Mhm.
And one way that we found that really worked for him was to just like, I would pick him up and hold him and squeeze him. So a
Mhm.
lot of like the pressure. And then I would whisper in his ear just positive things until his body was able to like get back to normal.
Right.
And then I would put him in the cart and then he would be fine. Well,
Mhm.
one day he was fine and he had it come back while we were shopping. It was just me, him, and Lainey. And he was just like, Mommy, why does my brain do this? Like, he actually asked the question. And I was like, do you really want to know? And then he said, yeah. And then I told him, and I said, well, you have this and sensory processing disorder and Tourette syndrome. And this is what it's like for your brain. So we just need to work differently with things. And so
Mhm.
it got to a point where, like, we learned what works and what didn't work. And I always had this rule um, we have to get through this somehow because the world's not going to stop for you. So we need to figure out what will work.
Mhm.
So us having, like I've said in the last podcast, like our neighbor having the flag out on her porch, Liam asked me to go over and ask her to put it down. I said, no. We can't go and tell every neighbor to put their flags down or
Like
put
I would
their
like to
swings
go
up.
to a parade where nobody has flags up.
Yeah. So we had to like I would be like, let's go to the other side of the house.
Right.
So it's like, I will meet you in your world, but you still have to meet me in mine because this is the real life.
Right.
And we need to get through it. We need to figure it out. And so we did that for like everything. And if we ended up having to sit in the car and reset and then go back, like we would almost always go back.
Right.
Where it's like, let's try this again. Just having that reassurance. But I guess for you, Liam, like if you, and it's probably different now that you're older than when you were younger, but I remember you explaining like how they felt. Cause I'd be like, what does it feel like when you have these episodes? And now that I'm older and like understanding it, I'm starting to relate where it's like, wait, this, I wonder if this is what Liam goes through with his thought process and the way that his body feels and stuff like that when you realize what sensory issues are and overstimulated.
Yeah, like walk us through like kind of what your hardest moments are and what they feel like, but then like also what, victories you've had through it.
One of the hardest ones was probably I still remember it. It was when it was like 2019, 2020, we had Archie's kennel.
Oh yes.
Dad was home.
You
Lainey
can
was
thank
being
Uncle Joe that we don't have it anymore.
He accidentally gave it away.
Lainey was being Lainey and started banging her doll on the kennel, and it like echoed. And
Yeah.
it was like a very long echo. And when it
Mhm.
ended, she would do it again.
She would
and
do it
then
on
it
purpose
felt
though.
like a
She was
night.
like a little Ashley. She would do it on
No, I'm
purpose
so
because she
sorry.
would realize like, oh, this bothers my brother, but she didn't understand in the sense of like how deep
She's
it
like
bothered him.
provoking him, but like
Mhm.
doesn't realize that it's
She
actually
thought
like,
it was funny. And then
boy.
She still does.
yeah, and so we have to remind her like that's not
Right.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, continue.
And yeah, so it was just a very long echo. And I don't really remember how it was solved. It was probably usually just over time.
Mm-hmm.
And mine just like resets. Because like my most recent was at the seafood boil on Mother's Day. I went to the restaurant, and it's really rare when it's music. Like music doesn't really affect me because like it can stop. You can stop it whenever. But one thing was because the flow of the people singing, it would end and then a new song. I don't know. That one was just happened because when I go into a new place, the first thing it's like a PTSD thing. The first thing that comes up is sensory. I don't want to get sensory, and then I think of sensory, and
Right.
it starts affecting me.
Right.
So yeah, so that happened, and then I was once like I started getting I put on the race because it was Sunday, and that helped.
A horse race?
No,
NASCAR, of course.
Oh.
and then food came in. It's usually just you get your mind off of it. But like when you go into Menards,
Mm-hmm.
what is gonna get my mind off of it? I'm
Definitely
not
not the
interested
beep
in.
beeps.
I'm not interested in wood hanging on the wall. Like I'm not. It's not gonna.
I am.
I love Menards for everything that it has
Yeah.
there.
Not when you're like 5 though. Like when I was.
Well,
So
yeah.
now it's just like I have
But your mom
things
still has to
with
live her
me
life.
that help me
Stop.
with my sensory.
She gotta go to Menards.
I
You
gotta
gotta
go
go with.
Menards.
Yeah.
You can't stay home by yourself.
No.
But like when you go to Menards now, it's definitely not like I think there are some things that you kind of like push through. You got victory out of it.
Swings are still a big one. Though.
What
Yeah.
I
about?
just had one almost when we were going to. There's kids on the swing. When we were going to
At the
soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And I
So
controlled
can you
it, but it
go
was
on a
almost-
swing? Like,
for like
or
5 seconds, and when I
okay.
get off, I have to stop the swing.
Gotcha.
I was
Usually
wondering
I'll go
about that
away
because
from
I was
swings.
like, I don't remember the last time you were actually on a swing.
I remember when
I was on a
him and I went
swing.
on a
Roller coaster.
roller coaster and he fainted right
What's it
next to me.
called? The tilter.
The Tilter Whirl.
Tilta.
The Tilta Whirl.
It was
He couldn't do it.
Mm,
But
I
you
was
do
home.
try. I was gonna say, but you do try again, like later on, like
I was
not
also
right
like
away.
5 at that time too.
Dude,
5
and that was like your
hard.
first one. 5 was the hardest for you. That was, but you went through a lot of change with that because you went through school.
You like gain
It was just me and
consciousness at that
you,
point.
and then was that when Lainey was born?
Yeah, I was 4'3". We're 4 years apart.
Lainey was born though, yeah. So
yeah, she was,
you
like,
now
0.
had a sister involved. Then you had 2 cousins at the time that were over every day. So it was just like a big change going from just you within a year to like a whole bunch of stuff. But so 5 was hard and it was a new discovery for us. Like it was a new walk.
Is it hard to like? Are there moments at school like with in the cafeteria or anything like that? Or you just kind because you
It's not
kind of
loud
like
noises.
right? So and it's kind of like part of your routine.
Mhm.
Nothing really changes or goes anything dramatic.
That's
It's
what
just
I like about my school. Besides that, the thing I like is that there's not really anything there that gives me sensory. If it is, it's in the gym. There's curtains and they move.
Mhm.
But usually after every single time, they tie them up, and then I know they're gonna tie them up, and they won't move again.
right. So you kind of have to like talk yourself out of.
Yeah.
Right.
It's. I mean,
And
there
that
was.
kind of becomes
That's why
an
I don't like
anxiety
echoes because you
thing.
can't stop echoes.
Yeah.
Well, and
Mhm.
I think there was not too long ago you could hear the wind chime outside, and you asked me to take it down, and I
Yeah.
did.
I still do that with grandmas. I just take
We
them
still
down. She doesn't care.
I don't own
but
any.
That would be hard for me, but I will
Mhm.
say I have to like some nights because I sleep with my window open. I have to either take that down out there or I have to close my window. Not because it's just because it's annoying.
Yeah.
It's like clanking, And it's not like a pretty sound. I have like a really bright one that's out there. But
Yeah,
that one out
the
there he could hear.
The wooden ones bother you? I don't think those bother you
Those
as much.
barely.
Those are kind of boring to me though.
It's just more of the noise. I know the noise is coming. So
I think it's like that
it's-
tin, that high metal sound.
Yeah, because there's probably
Because
an
it's
echo
like
in
the
that
kind of
too.
even our piano, if the piano gets hit and it kind of like, because we have a standing piano, if it gets hit and there's kind of that echo like rumble in there,
Yeah.
and my
it will
mind,
get to him too.
because I know it ends, but my mind's still saying it's still going off, but you can't hear it.
Yeah. What does it do to your body though? Like in a physical form? I remember what you told me when you were little, but I want to know if it's still the same now.
It's like tense. I tense up. I don't really remember.
So
I
like
don't really know
now
what-
when
it's just hard to explain.
so now that's the hardest part, I think, is that like we're like
Like
trying
shake.
to ask people
So I
to
shake.
Like tremory.
Like just clench my muscles. Like
yeah, like everything tenses
Yeah.
up. Like that's the hard thing, is like we're trying to understand what people like. I was watching Love on the Spectrum, and this girl said that she has like a hard time explaining
Mm-hmm.
or talking like about what's going on inside. And she
Yeah.
said, like, I loved how she explained it. She's like, I feel like I'm Little Mermaid, where
Mhm.
you have so much to say but you can't say it.
Right.
And I just feel like my voice is trapped inside of me
Mhm.
and I can't like say it.
Yeah.
And like for
It's kind of
Liam,
like you need to combust.
yeah, like for
Yeah.
Liam, he hears an echo and it's like it's ended, but in his brain it is still going. Like
Yep.
it is like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
So when you were younger, you would tell me, um, it makes you feel like not yourself, is how you explained it. It's like, I don't feel like myself, and I feel like there's bugs crawling all over me.
Mhm.
Like you would say it would do this weird thing to your body, as if
yeah,
like
it's
the only way you can
like
explain it was like as if
It's like a
something's crawling all over
neurological,
you.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
like when you randomly get chills down your spine for no reason. It's kind of like the sensation it gives. But
Well, I
Yeah.
think too, so Liam does not have the Tourette's where it's a vocal tic in the sense of like, I think we
Like
talked about this, like
cussing or
3 to 4% of
it's a
people with
low
Tourette's
percentage. Yeah.
have this, it's the side that people love to make fun of or whatever, or
Mhm.
expect people to have, where they just immediately like say inappropriate things or cuss or anything like that. And so a lot of times I feel like people would look at Liam like, what are you talking about? He doesn't have like he doesn't have Tourette's because he's
That could have
not.
been my car. There was a car alarm going off, but it stopped. So
Yeah, it's probably someone else.
eh.
Like, oh, like he probably doesn't have it because he's not acting this way.
Yeah.
And so like to not give him grace or not to actually understand what he's
Right.
going through, because like for instance, you would go to school and you would be such a good boy and you would listen, everything would be really great. And then when you would come home,
It was like
you would just spill out everywhere. And when, mom would go to the teacher and say like, "Wait, how is he at school?" Because this is how
yeah.
he is at home. It, like they would kind of look at you
And
like
it
you
would only
were
be like an hour, maybe two max. It was like a routine of things.
yeah,
Like he would come home and he would have this like so-called meltdown.
right.
But at school he would be completely fine, and then towards the evening he'd be completely fine.
okay,
You and your ears.
it's cold.
It's cold.
That's when it's cold. That's what I do.
You're cute.
Yeah, I think that's probably something that, a lot of people think, well, oh, because they don't have this typical behavior based on the diagnosis, then that's not true
Right.
or whatever. But it's so much more
Mm-hmm.
going on the inside that we can't see. He's like an
Yeah.
iceberg. Like you just see like
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of it, but there's so much more to what you go through throughout the day. And again, I think it's gotten better as you've gotten older.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
which is
And he
something
expresses it too.
right.
You know.
Right.
We kind of add humor to it.
Oh yeah,
know?
you gotta.
Yeah. And there's a lot of humor added to it, and then there are moments where he does tend to get angry at himself.
Yeah.
He'll walk past me and he'll say freaking Tourette's.
We would do that at SLCA. Like, we go on a walk and be like, I just hate this. I'm like, I don't know what else to say.
I
Like,
know, and I'm
I
like,
remember that.
yes, but I would take you on walks. Remember, I'd be like, let's go for a walk,
Yeah, but I don't know.
and you would
oh, because you would need to reset or something. I
mhm.
remember you would have to tell me, like,
At
this
school.
is how it was for him at school.
Yeah, and I would take him on
So
walks.
Nicole was
I think that was a joke because you did
an
something.
assistant in
It was
his
her.
classroom. You what?
One of you guys did something, and then I said freaking Tourette's.
Oh, it was
But I
probably
think it was a
me.
joke.
Yeah,
Because I don't remember having
but
like severe
you at
Tourette's at school.
school, you
No,
at
I mean
school,
at SLCA,
Yeah, I know.
you would
yeah,
have to
I would.
take.
So I was his teacher slash admin slash whatever at the school, and because I know him and I know that there are moments where he would just need to take a minute. We would
Mhm.
just go and walk around the block or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we just talked about NASCAR, and we just like kind of got his mind to regulate somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, because I think there are days where like if you had like a moment with one of your friends or with the teacher, it would just kind of
Mm-hmm.
you would mull over it in your head, and I'm like, all right, we need a change of scenery, or we need a
Yeah.
or whatever. So it always worked out for us.
He would do it was one of the hard times too at school. It was in 5th grade, and this was before he was at the school that you were working at.
Mm-hmm.
It was COVID year. We were coming back from the COVID shutdown. Everyone had to wear a mask unless like you had like
I
a
hated
doctor's
working in the
reason.
cafeteria.
We
You
worked
worked
in
at the cafeteria?
Remember in 4th grade, I worked at West in the cafeteria.
What did you
Cleaning.
work?
Did you get a
It
job?
was virtual.
Oh,
were
like
working-
doing
you were
school
north.
work?
Yeah, it was north side. We were working in the cafeteria.
So they would put them in
we
the
got the carpet and we got like that one like pillow thing that Lainey has, the white one.
Oh, right.
It was
Okay, I
so
remember that.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So
I remember that because because they would have to come to
It
my
was like
work
4 hours.
and then be
Oh.
our kiddos something I don't remember. It was like the kiddos we had to make them their own little spot, because we would do virtual. But I'm saying when we came back after everything was like back to as normal as it was that first year back,
Right.
everyone was masked. So one of the hard things was you're masked, you're uncomfortable, you have this thing on your face, and this will probably cause some people to ruffle feathers on the other end, but one of Liam's, you're okay if I tell people like what kind of tics you get?
Sure.
Sure. I mean, Uncle Joe edits pretty well. But one of the tics that he would get would be the jaw stretching.
Oh yeah.
So every time he would stretch his jaw, his nose would come out, and he would get corrected to bring the mask back up over his nose, and it would come back down. So all day it was constant. So that added more anxiety to it.
Yeah, I remember that.
He would come home really upset that he had to keep fixing this mask and he kept getting in trouble. And so I just kind of gave his teacher, who's absolutely amazing, I love her, just a heads up. No, no, this was after that. Yeah, she was amazing. And I just gave her a heads up, like, hey, just let you know, one of his uh tics is a jaw stretch. So his mask is going to come down, like just be prepared for that and everything. Just trying to get it to where it was less stressful. And then also like, a little more grace just because like this is what we're dealing with. But yeah, so that was a hard because we did really well for a while with the TS, and then COVID protocols came in, and that was when like some of the TS started flaring up again.
Yeah.
And I think a lot too, like dance kept you busy. Like you would do a lot of hip hop dancing and stuff, and you were so good at it. So we just powered through all that. But now it's just like I feel like if people didn't know you, they wouldn't see Tourette's. I think you've really like maneuvered through a lot of things, and we've learned to communicate with anxiety, like having that safe place to be able to say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm feeling and stuff. So I always do check-ins,
Right.
where it's like, how you doing, bud? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, I read him really well. And I just do like check-ins with him at night before bed so he can go to sleep like, you know, a little more
Yeah.
peace. And then if I notice a tic too that I'm really familiar with, I'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I'll even say like, he'll be like, "Yeah, why?" And I'll be like,
Um,
"Oh, I just noticed that you were ticking a bit, so I just want to make sure you were okay."
yeah.
But a lot of it is heightened with anxiety and stuff.
What's been like, have you gotten negative comments about Tourette's? And if so, like, what's been like your response to like the comments?
I have never had comments.
That's good.
Just me in general. I
Yeah.
know a lot of
Like,
people like misinterpret it at school.
okay.
They
Do you
basically
have to
just
tell people or anything that you have
I
Tourette's
just
or do?
no,
Okay.
they don't notice it.
Okay. And then, uh, if you could turn off your motor tics or your vocal tics, um, which one would you choose?
The blinking
The
is so
blinking?
annoying when I have it during soccer
Oh,
because I
really?
can't. I had it last game or during
Yeah.
scrimmage. I had it,
Hmm.
and when the ball was coming towards me, I blinked and I they couldn't don't know where the ball was. So
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's actually really good to know.
It's good for coach to know.
Yes, I agree. Um, yeah, and then like um what advice would you give someone who has been diagnosed with Tourette syndrome or um has been living with it and kind of feels a little bit discouraged about it?
depending on what it is, like if it's like what I have, it's not that bad. Like it's not
Okay.
what it seems that people make it seem. I feel like a lot of people make it seem like a sickness to the point where like, oh, you have this, that means you're like different and like you're gonna die. but
Right.
if you have like, I don't know, I would just say like, I don't know, I just it's kind of hard because for me, nobody really noticed it besides like my family. So, but if someone has like a severe one and people like bully him for that, then I would just explain it. Just explain it.
Right.
That's probably all I gotta do.
I think knowledge is key when
I
it comes
agree.
to understanding because
Mhm.
um, when Liam got diagnosed and stuff, like I worked in the area of special ed pretty much my whole life. You know, if I didn't have a friend, um, like I grew up with a friend with special needs and stuff like that. And then I worked with special needs as an adult. Um, and special needs is very across the board. You
Yeah.
know, like it's a lot of things. So a lot of people look at special needs as if it's just like a severe like autism or you know what I mean, like just a severe thing, and it's not always the case. But to me it's just like when you have an understanding. So when we got his diagnosis and everything, I went to work with researching. I started reading
Yeah, same.
books. I started like looking at things, and that's the thing is like you were one of my hugest supporters, you
Mhm.
know, because you understood. You did
Mhm.
the research. You were like, my nephew has this. I
Mhm.
need to
Well,
understand
and
it.
I needed to know how to extend grace to him because
Right.
there were moments like when he was little,
Mm-hmm.
cuz he wasn't like a bad kid.
No.
You know, he just had like one volume. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was loud kid, you know,
Yeah.
and he would listen,
Mm-hmm.
but it might take a little bit to get his focus or whatever. And I
Yeah.
think that um learning about it and like understanding these
Mm-hmm.
things like allowed me to extend so much more grace and like and to really understand like, oh, okay, this actually might just be, you know, just a symptom of what he's going through, and
Yeah.
to actually like, how can I get to his level
Mm-hmm.
and like get to know, you know, how he like what is how to react to him in the moment or to respond to him in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, and what not to do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it would just make it worse, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I remember too that there was a moment that kind of caused the research. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, at least for me, I remember when Liam and Scarlett were playing when you guys lived at the Bluff Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing on that like little playground that was there,
Yeah.
and they both tripped and fell off like a 2 inch
Mm-hmm.
or two whatever
It was a short
A little
distance.
step, yeah.
Yeah.
They both fell, and Scarlett got up and just ran away, and Liam
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
What was like, that's for me. I think that's kind of when you're like, okay, something is different here. We need
Yeah.
to like investigate that.
Yeah.
And he was,
Mhm.
I don't even think he was in kindergarten at that point.
Yeah.
I don't remember
Well, you were so
I
little.
remember I got a bee sting on the slide that one time. That was
Yes,
my first
I
bee
do
sting.
remember that.
That was the same part too.
And bee stings are painful. So aside that
They're
one,
not that bad for me anymore.
but
When you were, yeah,
a
little.
sliver for you, one of the things that I don't even know what to call it, but you were very sensitive to anything that like was different with your body. So like there was a period where we did have to put your socks inside out.
Oh yeah,
because
because you
the
couldn't
theme-
handle the line.
It
Yeah,
still
Yeah.
feels
I was the
weird,
same
so
way.
I just-
Yeah, but now it's like
Right.
but
slivers just give me OCD. It just feels weird when you touch it with
right,
your
but when you were
fingers.
younger, it was like a massive meltdown. Like the littlest things were like massive meltdowns. And then we realized like the way that you read your body was like, this is different. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how to say that. So now
Yeah.
I react.
Yeah.
And so then we had to go for like a search where it's like, okay, we need to put ourselves into an area of understanding and figure out why
Mm-hmm.
this is going on and try and deal with it. But like as you got older, that started changing. Like when you broke your arm last summer, I was like, it's not broken. He's not freaking out. He's not crying, not anything. And you're just sitting there like, I can't move it. Like it hurts to move. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like calm myself down. But I'm sure it's not broken because you would be in more pain. And then when we got to the hospital, they were like, yeah, it's broken. And I'm like trying not to have
Two
a panic
surgeries later, and
yeah. And I was trying not to have a
metal
panic
plate.
attack. So I'm over
Yeah.
there shooting humor because that's how I deal with stress. And he's pretty much trying to tell me in a very nice way, at least for a little bit there. I was like, I think he wants me to leave the room.
Yeah.
So I left with Lainey while Matt dealt with him I was like, just update me. I'll be in the waiting room because it was either I had to use humor or I was going to lose it myself. But, and it was our first break. Like I've never broken anything. Matt has, but that's Matt. I mean, he broke stuff all the time with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
At the
being
skate park, he was always breaking
Yeah.
something. Or getting stitches or something like that. But when it's your own kid, like you hurt.
oh my
you hurt.
gosh,
So when he
yes.
would have these moments too, with his SPD and his TS and stuff, like it would hurt my heart so, so bad because I'm like, I want it to go away. I want him to be happy. I want him to go through these things and stuff. And like I had to figure out ways to deal with it because that was part of like
Yeah.
my mental health battle as well. Because it's like as a parent, you just get like your heart hurts for your child.
Right.
You know?
And I think for me, because he's not my son, but he's my nephew, I
but
think
you guys are also extremely close.
Yeah, and I did feel like I really enjoyed embracing this part, because for me, I saw like such a creative world in his brain.
Yeah.
Like I would watch him at SLCA and he's not paying attention to a lick of anything, but he's smiling because he's thinking of like something that made him laugh earlier in the day, and your
Yeah.
brain would just go and like other like and I'm like, he's not paying attention to her at all, but he's just like in a whole, and to me
Right.
I like, yeah, that can be aggravating as a teacher, but like for me, I'm like, oh man, he is like in a whole creative world. And I think you eventually got to that point. But when you first are like, when you hear that, you think this is something that needs to be fixed. But I think instead you cultivated it.
Yeah.
You like,
and Matt and I both took the diagnosis of things like differently.
yes.
I did take it as like, we need to research this. We need to move on. We need to figure out what's next.
Right,
Like very, very like at
and
work
you like to
on it.
research and you like to be prepared.
I am a rabbit hole person.
Me
So
too.
I love researching everything
Me too.
that I can. Matt was more of like, I'm really nervous for him.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
what
Matt
does
just
this
didn't want
mean?
to.
Like he thought of extreme TS.
What is right? Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Because that's what we are painted. every single time.
That's what we're told is like, or like, that's just what our brain
Mhm.
thinks is like, oh, Tourette syndrome, it's
Yes.
the extreme, but there is a spectrum
Yes.
to it.
Yeah. And yeah, and so for him it was just like a new journey that we had to do, and then now it's still a journey, you know, but now it's like we can communicate it
Yeah, I think
and
that's
we
been,
figure it out.
that's a good
That's
point.
why I say
Like
like knowledge is important.
when you were little, I would say that it was probably a little bit harder to regulate because you didn't really have the voice to say much. Like you didn't know how to
You can't
explain it.
explain it.
And as you're getting older, I mean, there's been a huge shift in the way that he copes with it. And I feel like it's now just been.
Do you feel like you cover up some of your tics? Like, 'cause I feel like there's some things that I notice. I'm like, is that a tick or is that like just like when you flip the controllers? You know how you flip it?
People do
Is that a
notice
tick?
That's a tick.
Yeah. But to me, it just looks like you're busy with your hands because it's kind of like a pattern of flipping.
just a
I gotta
habit
twist
now.
this controller. Yeah, it probably
I do
is.
think tics can turn into
Yes.
habits. Like
I feel
it's
like almost
kind of
anything can.
yeah.
Like when it becomes something that you've been doing for so long,
Mhm.
or like something that him and I recently talked about when we were discussing, like, you know, do you want to be on the podcast? Is it okay if we talk about this? You know, and he started ticking while we were talking about it because it was something that we brought up. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, now I'm ticking, Mom.
Yeah. So there's an artist, musician. When I first really, she was really helpful. It's Jamie Grace.
Okay.
And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, and she was super helpful because she had, and she's super smart. Had a really awesome album. I think it was God Girl album or something like that. And but she talked about her Tourette's, and one of her things, like I was like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Liam a lot because she is like, I'm gonna start ticking because I'm gonna start talking about my tics.
Yes.
And so it's like she immediately started talking about what her tics were like, and she started like, you know, doing the eye twitch or whatever. And one of the things too was like her family would get frustrated when they would watch a movie because she already memorized the movie and watched it. And so every movie they would watch, she would talk over or like say it with the person.
Right. Yeah.
And what I loved about it was instead of it being like, yes, that's annoying for the family, and she would learn how to like kind of keep quiet, but instead she also used it as like a superpower to write because she would write songs all the time and she would memorize, you know, the music, or she would memorize the songs, and it kind of just made it a superpower in a place that the Lord put her.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's really cool for Liam because who knows, like all the knowledge that he has with NASCAR, all of the knowledge that he has with, you know, like he could be an announcer for NASCAR and know everything about that driver, all the stats, all these things, you know, soccer too, or whatever. I think it can really empower you to have a good career, and it doesn't have to hold you back from anything.
Yeah.
And that's what I would encourage people who have, you know, Tourette syndrome. There's another guy that I follow on Instagram he does have, you know, that 3 to 4% where he cusses or says anything that's coming into his mind, and he cuts hair. And he has a really awesome platform, but he like does a
He
really
kind of
good
adds
job
the humor into it.
Yes,
and
he
it's like,
does.
This is my life, and
Yeah.
I love doing this, but I also have to tag this along.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. One that, you know, we overcome things, and I don't know.
What do you think, Liam? Blessing in disguise, you think? Blessing in the skies? What was that from, Joe? When she's like, blessing in the skies. And they're like, it's blessing in disguise. Is that from New Girl? I can't remember.
I don't know. I feel like it might be. It's
It
been a
could
while.
be.
I like that show. It's been a long time since I watched that one. Another thing too is Louis Capaldi. He's very much open about his stress and stuff like that, and Billie Eilish, I guess, as well. But Louis Capaldi, I would love to have coffee with him. I would. I would just be like, let's go have coffee. I want to talk about life. I love
Yeah.
his music.
Yeah.
But seeing some of that journey with him, especially as someone who is a writer, who is very well known
Successful.
and very successful.
Yeah.
And it's just like seeing that gives hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because those kind of things like Tourette's and stuff like that, those can be things that like can really like make you feel like you can't
Yeah.
accomplish things.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and you mentioned before, you know, the support. And I think that's what I would probably encourage, you know, your village. If you have a, you know, a child that has, you know, been diagnosed with, like whether it's ADHD or Tourette's or, you know, autism or anything like that, your village, just for your village to come alongside you and support, you and support the child and the family. I think that is really, really important to, if you have that, you
I think it's important to have that safety area because Liam and I have talked about suppressing tics and how that's actually like not good. It's not good to suppress them, and because that's probably some of the stuff that happened at school where he would suppress so much and then he would like
and then
let it out and he felt safe enough to let it out at home.
Usually I don't get them at school.
When you were younger,
Yeah, when
you
I was
would
younger, I
have
get 'em all
these
the time, but
yeah.
now I don't really get 'em.
Yeah. And I think learning how to cope through anxiety or things that like, especially when there's things that are repetitive schedules, like he had said, like, it's the thing that I like about school is like there's this repetitiveness. Like I already know
he
what's
knows
gonna
what to
come.
expect.
And, yeah. When we went on vacation, remember when we went to Pigeon Forge? Forge?
Yeah.
Forge? Yeah.
Pigeon
Pigeon
Forge.
Forge. You and I butt heads so bad the first handful of days that we were there. And then I found out, and I think Scarlett's the same way. I found out that if we wrote down our itinerary, like what our schedule was, what we had to do, and I handed him the paper, said, "This is what we're doing today," it was night and day. And it was just like him knowing what we're doing. So now it's like we have these crazy trips that are coming up, and it's like, okay, these are what we are going to do. Romania will have to be more flexible with because I don't know what those plans are exactly, but it's just kind of like knowing like, okay, this is not working for us for these few days. So we got to figure out what's going on. And then I like paying attention. Like when you pay attention to your kid, he kept asking questions. What are we doing now? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? And I'm like, okay, this is not working because he's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And then I found out if I write down our schedule and I show him, his anxiety and those questions start to like get way better. And we enjoyed our trip a lot more.
Yeah.
Took us towards the end.
Yeah.
But now we know for future trips.
Yeah.
And you're older now, so you're kind of more like chill with whatever happens.
Before we wrap up, Liam, is there anything you want to add? You want to say?
Joey Logano sucks.
Joey Logano sucks.
Joey, he totally called you out.
Oh
if you
man,
ever see this
who's your favorite?
podcast.
Who is your favorite NASCAR driver?
I don't really have one.
Guess.
They're all like annoying. I have a favorite team, which is RCR, which is the hat I'm wearing. Favorite driver, I want Kyle to win because he broke his 19
crashing out.
He probably just crashed now.
Yeah, there's a race on, or at least.
Oh, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I think mine is
It's
probably
it's not really an actual
Chase Elliott. Well, I think it's
he was leading a little bit.
I used to root for Joey because I knew that's who Dad didn't like.
Ugh, why do you do that to him?
Laney.
But because I love to get under Dad's skin.
I know, like if you talk
Since I
about
was
Jeff
little.
Gordon, that's
Remember when
Dad
he
always
was
called
like,
him a weasel.
Dad was
a little
always
weasel.
Also because they were rivals at the time.
Well, Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhart.
And Dad was a big Dale Earnhardt
Rest in
fan.
peace.
And I found out that Gordon was like his enemy, and I was like, oh, okay, I can use this.
Yeah, Dad doesn't like Joey Logano, does he?
Yeah.
He doesn't like anybody that starts with J.
Sorry, Joe. I'm just kidding. I'm like thinking about this, and I'm like,
Isn't there Bubba?
Jeff?
Do you like Bubba?
What's Bubba's name?
His
Bubba.
real name is It's not his real
What's
name.
his
Isn't
last
Bubba.
name?
Oh, I don't know.
It's Wallace.
Oh,
Bubba Wallace.
His real name isn't Bubba though.
his name is Bubba.
That's his nickname.
That's.
I don't know why I thought it
It
was
could
Bobby. Who's
be.
Bobby?
Bobby Allison. He
No.
died. Like,
Are you
last year.
talking about
No.
Ashley? Who are you talking about?
Wasn't there a racer named Bobby? Oh no, this is from what's it called?
Yeah,
Which one is it?
Talladega Nights. Ricky Bobby Ashley, really?
His name is
Yeah,
Bobby.
I
It's
know.
on
I haven't seen
That
that
sounds
movie yet.
about right.
You might want to screen
I
it
have to-
first.
yeah, I gotta figure it out.
I think I've seen
Let
it
me go
first.
through it first.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Remember Karen the cat.
What? Karen the
Karen the
cat?
cat in the back of the race car.
No,
Joe.
he doesn't know.
There's
either.
totally a
You've seen
Karen the
it.
mountain lion. Karen the mountain lion.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking the cat like a house cat.
The mountain lion.
No.
No, it's
The
Karen.
Karen the cat. Yeah, like it's in the back
Isn't
of
it
the.
like get down, Karen, or something?
Oh my gosh.
Karen
Okay.
the mountain lion.
You gonna
right?
look that up?
Yeah, I am. Look, it says Karen the mountain lion, then it brings up Tourette.
What? Why?
I don't know.
Therian? What?
How do you spell it? Tella? Maybe
It's
not
on
in
his
there.
shirt, Ashley.
Let me see your
Ricky
shirt.
Bobby.
I haven't even seen that movie yet.
It was interesting. You gave me it.
You're watching a complete
even
ADHD
pick this out.
in real time.
I just picked up a random shirt.
Okay, well, we're gonna
It's a
wrap up.
cougar.
Yes, it
Mountain
is.
lion, right? Same
Karen the
thing?
Cougar.
It's an ugly cat.
Okay,
It's
well,
not even the cat.
I'm glad you guys went on this journey with us. As they're researching again.
We
Karen the
took me down a big
cougar.
rabbit hole.
Thank you for listening. And next time, I think we might be doing the Father's Day takeover pretty soon here.
Oh, can we tell stories
that'd be
about
fun.
Dad?
We should bring Papa.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? All right. Well,
Papa
we'll
raised
see.
Papa. That'd be
Are
funny.
you sure?
We'll see what happens. But anyway, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Real as Possible. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the laughs with someone who needs it. See you next time.